first birth, I had a 38-hour long labor. In that pregnancy, I gained right around 68 pounds. I knew that there was a different way. I was like, I don't feel like birth really has to be like this.
So Sarah Mary Rose Bissarello,
Sarah Marie Rose Bissarello.
Bissarello.
My husband is Italian.
Okay, that explains.
Yeah, yeah. He's actually from Argentina, but his roots are Italian, so his last name is the Italian name, Roman. Yeah.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right. So you're here today to tell about your story, and for whoever doesn't know,
Mm,
um, I would, I just heard about your birth experiences,
mm,
both of them that you had.
mm.
And I was really, really curious to have you here
Mm.
because I think that's amazing and that is going to break so many myths and experiences that other ladies have. And I think it's going to also maybe help other women to have less suffering
Mm.
when they're giving birth and make their life a lot easier. So yeah, that's great to have you here. I'm super excited. It's a super interesting topic for me. Um, yeah, so I wanted to ask you, okay, so now you're on your third pregnancy, right?
Yep. Yep. I'm almost 30 weeks pregnant on my third pregnancy. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like 7 months, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right at there. Yeah. We have another two
Okay.
more weeks. So about around June 20th is my due date. So yeah. Yeah. Getting there, but I feel good. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
I can.
being on here too. It's such an honor and a blessing to be able to share with other people, with other men and women, about birth and really the importance of preparing for this like super vital time in our life, and one of the most important times of our life a woman can possibly have. So thank you.
Yeah, so if you're already bringing this up, can you tell us how did you prepare for having your second birth?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so with my first birth, I had a 38. I'll start from the beginning. So in my first birth, I had a 38-hour long labor. Um, in that pregnancy, I gained right around 68 pounds. I was on a vegetarian diet till about 30 weeks. And then I did start implementing some animal products into my diet and which I necessarily didn't want to do, but it ended up happening. I didn't take time enough before to prepare my body enough to be able to go full force into that lifestyle. So I ended up getting super inflamed. I had all the symptoms. I had nausea. I had, like I said, overweight. I was just feeling so tired. I had like the extreme emotional ups and downs. When I went into labor, it was a very slow, long process. And I know that that happens also with first mothers. It's like this new thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, like how do I do this? I don't like what's gonna happen during birth and this whole process. So it was also the unknown and also, what my daughter was coming into and what she wanted to come into, right? So that process was long. I had pain during the labor. I had back labor. And then eventually about 36 hours in, I had my water broke and I had meconium come out. So I ended up going to the hospital, which I was doing a home birth, but the hospital birth ended up being very amazing. I had a natural birth in the hospital and it was just 2 hours. The people were absolutely amazing. They let me have dim lights, they let me squat, they let me do what I wanted to do. And
Mm.
so yeah, it was a beautiful experience, even though, and I want to say that even though I did have to go to the hospital, because some women do have to, if there's certain circumstances like mine where if the meconium is present within the body, it comes out, you want to make sure that you're not, having toxins within your own child. So I wanted to be sure that my child was safe and she wasn't, something was happening to her. So I went into the hospital, had her within 2 hours. And then once I had her, the recovery time, the postpartum was really long. Like I was really tired. I could not do a lot of things. It just it felt very like I don't want to say like I was sick in bed, but it felt like I was just really exhausted. It was a very long process. And I knew after that experience, and then it took me about 6 months to really recover from that experience. It was beautiful. Like I loved my birth, I loved my baby, but like my physical body, I knew that there was a different way. I was like, I don't feel like birth really has to be like this. There's something can change to be different. And right when my daughter was 1 years old, that's when I decided I was going to go raw because I was having extreme candida symptoms. I was having, intestinal stuff happening. And I was like, oh, I'm just not feeling good. Like I didn't prepare enough before my daughter. I did like liver flushes and kidney flushes, but I didn't prepare enough to have my system completely cleared and be running at optimal pace to be able to deliver the way I wanted to deliver, have the type of birth I wanted to. But I knew I was going to be pregnant again. And so when my daughter was 1, I went raw, and immediately within like the first month, I started to feel so different. Like my brain fog started going away. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel like myself again. I feel good. I feel, confident. I feel in my body. And so I just started continuing that process. And then my son actually, so one of the things that I do is I help people connect in with their children, their unborn children before they come here to this planet. Okay. So my
So
daughter
they're already when they're already pregnant
before. So like
before.
my daughter came to me 3 years before, introduced me to my husband, was giving me signs and telling me, go here, daddy's here, and that's how I was able to like really listen and to find, my husband, right? So my son came to me about 6 months after being raw, and he was like, gave me his name, and he was very specific. He's like, you have to do did this, this, and this, and this in order for me to come in. So it took me on this like 2 year long journey of like, okay, it's not about just going raw. I need to cleanse my parasites. I need to, cleanse my liver, my kidneys, my intestines, my entire lymphatic system. And then alongside of that, do the emotional work that goes along with the cleansing of the body and the regeneration of the body. Like, what are the emotions that are held within the liver? What are the emotions that are being held within your gut, within your kidneys? And so I went through this entire phase of really going through my body and regenerating it and purifying it so I can come back to that space within myself where I'm facing my mommy and daddy issues. I'm facing my own birth issues. Like what happened at my own birth? What happened at my mother's own birth, right? So like going back into those places so they can be understood and felt and heard and brought love to. And then once that was complete, I knew it was complete actually when I was doing all this, cleansing, but then my body would just start to regenerate naturally. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I'm not having these die off symptoms. I'm not breaking out. I'm not like too thin anymore. Like my body is just starting to build, and I could see the energy change. I could see my face change. I could see everything in my life start shifting. Then I was like, okay, now it's time. And it was like clockwork. The second I felt good, my husband and I were like, okay, it's time to conceive this baby. And he was doing a lot of stuff too at the same time. So it wasn't just me. I want to really preface that because a lot of people think it is just the woman's job, and it is absolutely not true. The man has to do the work too, because you're not just inheriting the woman's lymphatic system, her kidneys, the emotional stuff. You have your husband as well because he has his sperm in your body creating this baby and creating this soul. And so he did the work too. And once I conceived him, my pregnancy was just an absolute breeze. I mean, I had literally no symptoms of pregnancy besides the fact that my belly was growing, my boobs were getting bigger. And yeah, I'm just, it just felt good. Like I was happy. I was working out every single day. I was fruit based the whole pregnancy I had, but I also had, I would say fruit, what I mean by fruit based is like the primary of my calories were fruit. And then I would have greens and juice and sprouts and some nuts and some seeds and like stuff like that, right? So, but my bulk was the fruit, and I had just so much life force and energy. And once we got to the actual birth process, well, I was 40 weeks to the day, actually 4 hours off of conception, which is crazy. And all of a sudden my body just was like, oh, you need to go poop. And I'm like, okay. And this is what happens when you go into labor. Your body wants to exit everything out because you're about to have a baby. I'm like, I gotta go poop.
Yeah.
I go and poop. My mucus plug comes out, which is the first thing that happens. Usually is the mucus plug comes out, which is like that, which is that closure that allows the baby to come out. And then I'm like, okay, my mucus plug came out. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom again. My body's releasing again. And then the blood comes out, which is the bloody show, which is a part of like, labor, labor is going to start happening. Most of the time, this can happen really early on for women where, you have your mucus plug and then you have your blood and you're like, I might be laboring for a little while, right? I was like, okay, this could be a while. I had a 38-hour long labor last time. This could be potentially that long. I could be doing this for days. And then I go inside and I text my midwife. It's just like, hey, this is happening. And she goes, okay, it sounds like it's like early on in labor. And next thing you know, my body intuitively wants to go on all fours. I go on all fours. My water breaks. And I'm like, okay, I've got to like take my pants off. I'm like, I just everything goes wet. And I'm literally getting out of the bed. And I have my first contraction. I have my first contraction. I could feel my son's head. And I was telling my husband, like, can you I'm like, am I pooping again or is this my son's head? Like, I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, he goes, okay, you see. The next contraction comes. Next thing you know, he's got amniotic fluid on his face. Half the head is out. And then I have one more contraction. His torso comes out. The fourth contraction, his whole body's out. And I'm literally standing up in my kitchen and going, whoa, okay, I just had a baby. I didn't go into this like euphoric, I'm in this like, birthing space. It was just very grounded earth, like stand up, have your baby. That was it, right? And my husband caught him, and I remember he looked at me and he's like, are you ready to hold him? And I was like, give me a second. I need to take a breath. I want to be like, you know. So I took a breath and then he like chucked him under my legs. I was like, oh my God, I just had a baby. This is amazing. And I had no pain. There was no pushing. It just happened. And then I just held him. And about 15 minutes later, my midwife walks in and she's like, congratulations, you got a baby. She was, do you want to deliver placenta? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I just stood up and the placenta came out. And that was really it. And we just were holding him and doing the natural process of after labor, which is just, like, oh, okay, let's clean up the space and do those things. But I felt good. I had energy. It was like 1 a.m. and I was just eating bananas and I really, really wanted berries at that time. And yeah, I felt good. And I remember the midwife was like, you should probably lay down. I'm like, I don't really feel like laying down right now. So it was a really easy process, and the days afterwards were obviously I stayed home and was chilling and stuff like that, but I didn't have that same experience that I had in my first pregnancy and my first labor and birth. I just felt really good. I felt peaceful. I could really just enjoy the time with my son, the time with my husband, and really just relish in that space. And I knew after I had that experience, I was like, okay, I have to share this, and I want to help people. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it just got stuck for like a few seconds, and I was like, maybe the connection.
Is it good now?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay.
Now it's all good. Yeah.
So I knew after that experience that I needed to share this with other women and men, and then it just became like I have to start we have to start preparing these parents for pregnancy and for these children. And yeah, so that was my second birth experience, and here I am on my third, which is about 4 years later, 4.5 years later. So yeah, and I did preparation for this one too. It wasn't like, oh, let me just live my life. I there was very specific things that this soul and this child wanted me to do to prepare even deeper for this soul. So I'm feeling really great in this pregnancy. I similar as my son, I have no no issues, no nausea, nothing. I am the only difference is this baby likes a little bit more gourmet raw. My son was very much like it was like, I just want fruit. And this one's like, give me like raw pizzas and like it's very interesting because I can see the personality coming in. I'm like, why am I craving things that I don't normally like crave? But still in the healthy space, you know what I mean? Still I'm fruit based and raw and having all the yummy foods, but it looks a little different. Like this one loves acai. Like it cannot get enough of like antioxidants and acai. I'm like, okay, that works.
Maybe it's going to be a very energetic baby.
It is the most energetic baby. I mean, this is the acai that I get does not have any like guanana or sugar or anything like that. But it's like it moves so much. It's a very, very active baby. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why. All right. So can you tell us, like, I believe I've seen something about you saying something about women over 40, because I know a lot of doctors, they warn women over 40 that like they're not fertile enough, they cannot have babies. Personally, I know my best friend's sister, she got pregnant over 40, and she has the most amazing child. She's not raw or anything, but
Right.
I mean, yeah. So can you like share with us if that's okay?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
you are right. The doctors actually in the Western medical field, you're considered like a geriatric pregnancy after 35 and you're high risk. Okay, so I had my second at 35 and I'm 40 now. And I had no issues with my hormones and with getting pregnant. The biggest concern is they feel women's progesterone is low and they're not going to be able to carry a baby, because there's so much talk now. I don't know if you see it, but there's so much talk about perimenopause and premenopause and women going into that in their 40s and like their early 40s. And, people back in the day were having babies till way later in life. And I think a lot of it has to do with it can be food quality. It can be, just like the level of pesticides that we have in our food or whatnot. Or just in general, the hormones being out of balance. Um, but for myself, like I've helped a few women actually prepare that were in their 40s to conceive and to be perfectly fine and have their levels be normal. We've had people who've been like 45 and if they wanted to have a kid, they could. And they're like, why are, I remember she went to her doctor and her doctor said, it's like, why are your eggs are like they look as healthy as when they were like 20 years old. And it was all because of her, doing that physical work on the cellular level, but also on that emotional level too. And I think that if a woman really believes that she's getting old and she can't do this and she has those already blocks within herself, that is going to create a block. A lot of the times the children that are coming in, the blockage isn't necessarily the physical. It can be that emotional and spiritual and something that's going on within them, as well as what's going on within the dynamic of their family, with their husband, where they live. It could be something as simple as like where they're living is not where that child wants to come in. And then the second they listen and they move, the child will come through, right? So, I think it really is about us connecting with those children and connecting with our hearts and connecting within what we know as a woman. And this is innate in every woman. Like we have that mother's intuition where we know we're like, okay, I know my body wants to have a baby. I'm preparing. Okay, but how can I actually check in with this soul and connection and know the divine plan that's at will, right? And so, what does this baby need and want from me for it to come through? And I think that's been really the missing link is we're putting it all on the medical side and we're only looking at that, well, what can I do medically? And I'm like, well, you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like there was a woman who came to me who was going to be doing IVF and we did a session and she got pregnant. She didn't need the IVF. It wasn't
What is it?
the IVF. This is when you take a sperm and an egg outside of the body and then you implant it in.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it goes hand in hand with the emotional and spiritual and the physical body and allowing the physical body to be at its healthy and optimal space, is really it's going to give you a better chance. You're going to have better
Yeah.
cells and your eggs are going to be, you know, healthier and all that stuff. So, I always tell people it doesn't hurt. Like imagine if every person prepared for these children or for your child as if you prepared going on vacation, going to college for your career. Like imagine if we put that much emphasis and love into this child that you want to have and
Yeah.
this child that's coming in and you saw them as like a holy being. That's the trick. Like I tell people, I say, imagine what it must have felt like for Mother Mary to have Jesus. Okay? Like the amount of love that she had to carry this baby. And like, most people don't look at their children as like, oh, I'm going to have this, angel. They're just like, I'm having a baby. And it's like, what if we really were aware and conscious of our thoughts, of our actions, of how we're feeding ourselves? We would take a moment and be like, oh, this is affecting not just me, but my baby too. Oh,
Mhm.
which is huge. How can I?
Yeah.
And babies feel everything in the womb, and they don't know the distinction between is this what I'm feeling or is this what mommy's feeling? So that's one of the biggest things when I'm helping people is how to really be conscious and aware of when you are actually in gestation, when you're in pregnancy, of your own awareness of your actions and your thoughts and your feelings and if you are going through something, letting your baby know that it's not them and that they love them. And this is a huge aspect actually when people go into healing work. If you go back into your own birth and your own pregnancy with your mother, you can find certain things that have happened within that period that is creating the programming within your life. And then until you realize that and you go and heal it, you're like, why am I reliving my mother's story
Yeah.
all the time that happened
Mhm.
while I was in womb or what happened at birth? You know what I mean? It's really wild. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I feel like it's not even what happened when the baby was in the womb. It's like the entire life previous to that, where I see it on my family. Um, so like now we're the generational, we need to like fix everything that happened to them
It's
also. So, cause I've been, let's say I've been in a all my family has been to abusive relationships and husbands, and I was also in an abusive relationship, and I also got pregnant from this guy. And until I didn't take a stand, you know, it just ran away, and then I just finally realized that, like, I think I need to be the one to, um, you know, like stand up for it and just you know, just break the cycle and tell my mom everything that she needs to work on as well, and you
right.
know, just appreciate yourself more. And yeah, I mean, I just get to experience that the children that actually carry a lot of the generational weight if the parents don't work on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's super important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you were in your mother when she was in your grandmother's womb. So you were feeling also your grandma. So it's really generational, and
Yeah,
it's so beautiful. Like once we go in and we heal those aspects within ourselves, then it automatically breaks that cycle for our own children. You know what I mean? And that is like people ask me, well, what are these next children that are coming in asking for the most? I'm like, they're asking for you to work on those aspects so they can come into a cleaner slate, so they can not have to show you the stuff that you're still holding on. And so we can set them free so they can be completely, truly who they are.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So I also wanted to ask you, you said like the difference between, I have a few more questions.
Yeah.
So you said the difference between your first pregnancy and your second pregnancy was also, let's say, a huge part of it was in your lifestyle. So was the preparing for the second baby was the thing that wanted to make you change your lifestyle, or was it something else?
Change my lifestyle like in all ways, or you're talking about diet? What are you pertaining to?
Diet or whatever you change. Like
We changed from, living in the tropics and living a more nature-based life. Like we've always been nature people, but living close to nature, eating only from the farmers here on the island. And that was a huge change. Just like I remember when my son was born, we put up a tent out in the garden and I slept with my son on the earth for the first 2 months of his life. And so he's not surrounded by EMFs, he's not surrounded by, TVs. Like we don't do that anyways. We haven't had a TV in 10 years, right? But it was different when you're living in a city space, more with a lots of, even if you're in like a suburb and you've got tons of houses by you, it's still different than when you're living more close to nature. Like I think I showed you earlier, but like this is where, we live in this type of atmosphere right now. Just open spaces, trees, greens, you know, go to the water as much as possible and just living really that natural lifestyle. And I think that changes everything. It changes your nervous system as a woman. It changes your, just your overall. calmness, like you just be, oh, which I think is a huge part of pregnancy and birth is being calm. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What my question was is what made you wanna change the like the way you used to live before?
Hmm. I think it was just inevitable. It was it was the change that was happening within, doing the emotional work within and wanting my outside to reflect what was happening on the inside. Prior to even having my daughter, I've been helping people and teaching people all about self-love and loving thyself and put people through these practices. So within that particular space, that opened something up within me to come back to this way of living, to come back to this natural way and just being with nature and it was what my heart and what my soul was asking and wanting for a long time. And even as a kid, like I grew up on a farm, but I loved being in the trees. I loved being outside. I loved being in nature. You know, City life is fun, but this was always what I knew felt good in my heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also for my
I
kids,
I could
I want them to live like this, have this opportunity where they're not affected by the outside world so much, and having the phones, the tablets, the computer screens, the cars, everything. They want you'll see your child be completely different when you put him in nature. It's really simple. It's like not difficult. You take them to nature and they're like, "Oh, I don't have to complain and fight anymore."
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well then yeah. I mean that's what I want for my kids as well. So until I'm not out of the city, there's nothing to, even consider.
Where are you at?
Yeah. I live in Israel.
Okay. And you're in a
Yeah, so
city?
huh?
And you're in a
I'm
city.
in a city, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can like I don't know if this is something, but
Okay.
yeah.
Beautiful.
It's all relative. Yeah. So also I wanted to ask you because there's also something very interesting that you sent me where you were talking about um your the cord the where the baby is born and you have the yeah, well the
The
cord
lotus
that is
birth.
connect. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about this?
Oh, yeah. So with my son, we chose a lotus birth, which is you keep the placenta connected to the baby with the umbilical cord until it dries out and until the baby is ready for it. And the reason why we did that is initially, oh, we're in a rain now. Initially, we wanted to have a non-disrupted birth, which means we don't want to come in and take any actions or force anything upon him. So we decided to keep that attached. And that also carries the nutrients to the baby. So once we did that, once we did the lotus birth, it was really beautiful because my son had a whole connection with his umbilical cord because that was in the womb with him for 9 months. So he would have this connection, and until he actually kicked it off, we didn't take it off. And then once we took it off, we planted it with a tree, with a mango tree actually. And that was really special for him. But I saw
Yeah.
huge benefits, like him being super calm, him not really needing to breastfeed until that was off. He had to go through his own process of releasing the cord and releasing the placenta. And it's not like just the placenta's hanging out on the side and it's just stinking. It's like this dead organ. You have to pack it with herbs and make it smell good, and you wrap it, right? So it's not like a big a stinky distress on you, but it definitely keeps you close to home because you have your baby and then you have that connected to him. So usually the baby's closer to the bed because I'm not really walking around with him and then holding the placenta, right? So it keeps you
Yeah,
close.
yeah, I was wondering.
No, it definitely kept me closer to the bed and kept me closer into that space, into like, okay, we're gonna chill until he's ready, right? And that really gave us that sign that he was ready. He's like, okay, I'm ready to come out. And after that happened, I remember we went on a hike and went out in nature, and it just felt like that natural progression that was happening.
And how long did it take the cord to actually dry out?
It was well, he kicked it off after 4 days, but it was
Mm.
maybe like a couple of days it dried out. Yeah.
Okay, so he didn't breastfeed until it was 4 days.
He
It
was
was
kind
just
of
getting.
breastfeeding, but he wasn't like into it. And sometimes it takes about 4 days to 5 days for the woman to get all of her milk, right? So yeah, that's when like it really started coming in for me and for him. And he was really interested. He's like, okay, now I want my mommy.
Is it?
Now we're recording again.
Okay.
Okay, what did you say now?
Um, yeah, I will say it again. So it's interesting what you said because it seems like there's like a kind of correlation between, the time where the baby is ready. It's like your body is already preparing till, it has all the nutrients and your body knows how long it's going to take for the baby until it's enough for him. And then like the milk is okay, I'm ready to be full on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Totally.
so that's how it sounds like.
Well, that's definitely the experience that I had, and I know there's so many different opinions about this topic, and it can be controversial for some, just in general of let me put this down. Just in general, like what to do. Should we have delayed cord cutting? Should I eat my placenta, like put it in capsules and all those kinds of things? So, with my first, I did tinctures. And so that was helping with hormone regulation. And they say that you can use those tinctures from when your child is going through puberty, and you can give them those same hormones. So it helps calm their system down when they're older. So I think that there's benefits to each way, and it's really like for the mom again to connect with the baby and to see what the baby wants. Like I knew right away when I heard Lotus birth, I'm like, I'm doing this. This is definitely something that I want to do. And I think we'll do it again for my third birth too. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds because again, it's like not it's something that's very not conventional. Like most people just they go and cut it
Yeah.
because they don't it can never come out or
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, my husband, he always like in that interview that I sent you, he was saying, he's like, well, what is it like? What did they do back in the day? They just went and grabbed some rocks and like cut the cord. Like, what do you do? There's no scissors. Like how did they do that? It just seems like a natural process that would happen.
Yeah, I think it's people just they don't think about what happened back in the day. Like they don't trust the way like nature actually works. Like it's all naturally synced, and people just you don't trust it. They're like, oh, the doctors they know we have to do it now because it's not. And yeah,
Well, and it also gives us that opportunity as a society. Like, yes, we're giving these other circumstances, the doctors are saying this and that, but it gives us the opportunity and that empowerment to go within our heart and be like, well, does that feel right? Does that feel good? Am I just going to go along with everyone? Or is this giving me an opportunity to find out and figure this out for myself inside my own heart? You know, this
hmm
feels good. So instead of blaming them, go, well, they're giving me an opportunity to empower myself, because you can go into a hospital and they're going to say, I think you need a C-section. I think you need this. And as a woman or even as a man, you can be like, absolutely not. This is what I'm doing. And you're not doing this, this, and this. And it brings you to that space of like true empowerment and listening to what is really needed from your heart and what you feel is good for you. And I think it always comes back to that, is like, well, how do you feel? How are you feeling about this situation versus just going along with the herd, and that is like the first thing I teach with people is like connection with their heart, connection with your feelings. Come back to your truth, come back to the truth, come back to the truth. Like what's really going on here, instead of listening to everything outside of you is going inward. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
that's
it's like
really
my way is not necessarily how everyone's gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not telling everyone like you have to go raw, you have to do those things. Like I actually tell people like no, like some people will reach out to me and they'll be like, okay, you have a raw pregnancy. Can I do this? I want to do this right now. And I'm like, well, what's your current lifestyle? What is your current diet? And I tell people like you have to prepare, it's not about going raw and like be in this egoic place of like I want to be raw or fruit based or whatnot during my pregnancy. It's about actually preparing your body and preparing yourself to go to that, and not trying to do something that could be harmful for your body or for your baby's body, especially if you're already pregnant. You know what I mean? Like I would never tell I don't tell people period to do anything. Like this is what worked for me. I can tell you and help you prior to conception on how to like clean up the body. But then once you clean up the body, that is your choice on what you decide to do afterwards. It is not my way is not the highway or that's it, or no way. It's what the person in their heart feels and what they choose. You know what I mean? This is what worked for me. I know many women who've had, even now I've talked to, who've had this types of pregnancy and they're having very similar experiences. Literally, like easy
and
birth.
they're not raw or anything.
No, the ones that I've talked to that prepared, they have very similar experiences. I mean, of course, there's people who have had short births, and I don't know about pain-free, but yeah, it's not just the lifestyle, it's also the emotional process. And you can be the longest raw foodist, but you're still avoiding everything inside and you're avoiding the emotions. And you have to do the work. You have to do it simultaneously. You have to work on your emotional and your spiritual state too, alongside
Mm,
of any type of lifestyle, and using the food as a medicine to propel your awakening within you. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So, like, I've met raw foodists and long time raw foodists, and they're still dealing with the same emotional root issues as they were dealing with as like a child, and there's like an avoidance that's happening. So it's it's definitely a good idea to do both of them together, and not to avoid what's actually happening inside. Like the fruits and vegetables for me was a propeller to actually address, like, because once you go raw, you get raw inside. So it
Mm,
propels you to address what's actually happening within.
yeah. Yeah, I feel the same too. And like usually I'm very like in your face. I'm very blunt and I cannot hold something for long. It's like it
Yeah.
has to come out.
Yeah.
Even before I went raw, I was like this, but now it's just like I don't even care. I'm just gonna say it and like I'm not scared to address people. They don't scare me anymore. It's just like I'm gonna yeah, if I feel like I need to say something, then I would say. And if I don't have the option to say it, like disconnection or something, then I just sit inside, and it creates like I had something within my family that caused me a lot of stress, and
Mm,
ever since then I had like um my immune system went really really low, and
mhm.
I'm like raw, and I'm mostly fruitarian, you can say it this way.
Yeah.
And I was just um ever since that happened, I'm still like healing from that. It was a few months ago,
Mm,
because I didn't have the chance to actually like go out and solve it. So I know that emotional stress is also very very critical when it comes to obviously staying healthy within. your body, your physical body as well.
Right.
And yeah. So what do you suggest for people like to prepare um emotionally for like before we can talk about this topic of birth and conception. So what do you suggest for people to do as like emotional work if they are not really able or they're already wrong, like is there anything
Mm.
you would recommend to do in specific or just or some practices that you've done that helped you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, definitely on our site, we selfillumination.com, we give everybody free the practice of the 30-day Love Thyself challenge. Start there, which is a simple daily practice, 5 minutes a day of connecting back in with your heart and bringing the space within your body to that space of love. Okay. And it helps you address your feelings, it helps you address your emotions. For those of you who might not be familiar with it, this is a practice that from the scientific level, if you guys are aware of Dr. Emoto is a Japanese scientist who would study water molecules all over the world. He would look at the water molecule and see the shape of it, right? Then he would have monks or priests pray over it, put an intention into the water, and then he would look at the molecule again. And all of a sudden, you would see the molecule shift based off the energy and the intention that you were giving the water. So the love would look like crystal, the thank you would look like a different type of crystal, but you would see how beautiful it would look and how like the shapes would be not all discombobulated, but then you would put like hate or fear, things like that, and it would change, right? So, with that in mind, this practice came to me after a deep meditation, and it was showing me how our body is 65 to 75% water. Okay. So, if we're 65 to 75% water, what happens to us if we give certain intentions and energies within our own self, right? So this practice is simple. It's saying I love you to you every single day. And it's sharing with yourself how that feels and allowing the energy of that love. Like imagine like bringing that love to you and all the molecules. What's going to happen in your physical body? Okay. Those molecules are everywhere, all the water molecules. And they're starting to shift into that space of like more of like a crystal like shape, right? What happens? Well, everything that is not in that shape, it's got to go somewhere. So all of a sudden, everything starts coming out that's not of that. How you've not been loving yourself, how you've not been loving life, how you've not been loving people. Okay. So all of our old patterns, our actions, our fears, our traumas, all that stuff starts to come up and it starts to percolate. And it gives us another opportunity to look at it with a new set of eyes and to resolve it with love and to move on so your body can be at that frequency of love. So this is the first step I give people is start there. Start there so you can start this self-awareness, bringing love to yourself. And it's not this like, I love you. Look at me, at my hair. I look so good. It's not that at all. It's like the action. It's like when this came out 11 years ago, people were doing that. And I was like, guys, you're doing it all wrong. You're actually, that is an avoidance. That is an avoidance because you are just looking at the exterior of yourself and you're avoiding what's actually happening inside. But this practice, if you allow it, will take you super deep within to yourself and to see those spaces that you can bring forgiveness and love to and understanding, right? And next thing you know, your whole life starts to change. When I did this, literally 9 months later, I found my husband. It was like so quick. My
Wow.
whole life changed because it put me into a place of like, I need to only do what is in alignment with my true self and what's God's divine will. That was it. It was like, this is the truth. If I'm in a space of love, like I'm sincerely working from that space. So everything that was not was literally eradicated. Okay, so when you start with that process of looking within and going into your heart and to address those feelings and to make those, smart action changes, then everything else starts to shift. Then you don't want those foods that are holding you back. Next thing you know, you're like, I don't want foods that are going to cause pain in my body because I don't have that trigger inside that's going to want me to eat this because it's helping me, you know, like take away the pain of what happened. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
no longer numbing ourselves.
yeah,
We want to bring life. So I tell people start there. You can go to the site, you can do the Love Thyself challenge, and then I have an entire process that will take you through, which starts with that. Then it goes into what's called Lifestyle One, which is basic food combining juicing. I'm not asking you to change anything in your diet besides the order of your diet and adding
yeah,
juicing, adding sprouting. And then we go deeper into that practice where I actually help teach you how to resolve those things in a good way. And it's like a 5-week process. And then we
yeah.
take it deeper. We go from the heart and then we go into the gut, into the actual intestines and the roots. And then the diet goes into an 80% raw diet with cleanses and it takes you through that process. So I literally my husband and I put together through our own experiences and how we prepared in like a condensed version that's like the easiest way for people to follow, and they can go at their pace and their space based off what's happening within them. So that is, I have it all mapped out for people so they can come on and do it. And it's, you can join for $99 a month. It's like you do the lifestyle one and it's $99. The first one is free. So there's no excuse. It's like come in, start the practice. Anybody can do this and just get started. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Sounds really amazing, actually. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
So you and your husband have this website, and so you basically work. This is your work, right? Or
Mhm.
you have something else that you do as well?
No, I just help people prepare for this. This is like the only thing right now that's really been, you know, really is
Yeah.
what's asked of me to do. It's like just focus, focus, focus on preparing these parents for these children, these beautiful beings that are coming in. I also do private sessions with people when they want to connect in with their child, which I love. They're just like the most beautiful sessions. So if people, want to conceive or want to connect in with their child, I help people connect with their heart so they can connect in, right? So I'm not going to be the one, like I'm not like a medium sitting here going, I'm going to channel your child. I'm like, I'm going to help you connect with your heart so you can feel and see for yourself and listen. So I help open the space up for people in that way. And then obviously I have children and I'm pregnant. So I've got 2 beautiful children that I take care of and we homeschool, and my husband does agroforestry, so he's all about growing the food and bringing back nature. How to bring back nature with growing food and trees, and that alone honestly is so healing. It's like I tell people, you want to start healing, go into nature, start putting your hands in the soil, and immediately the trees and the soil is going to talk to you and you're going to start having your own healing process just by being in nature, just by being in nature alone, you know? So we're pretty simple. It's like go to nature, eat from nature, check in with your feelings, check in with your heart, and then, keep living your life. Find the goodness in life.
Yeah. So if people want to reach you, like to do a personal session, how can they reach you? And I can also put a link uh,
Oh, thank you.
to the website. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can they reach you? Is it through the website or
Yeah,
any other platform?
totally. They can go on to selfillumination.com. They can email me at Sarah at selfillumination, or they can, if it's on Instagram, they can write to me on Instagram, which is just self-illumination. My Facebook is just my name, Sarah Marie Rose Bisorello. Yeah. And if they reach out to me there, then I can get them all the information, and it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Amazing. It sounds really, really good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I highly recommend for people to do this process. And also seem like from what I've seen on Instagram, which is how I got to interview you,
Mm.
I've seen like how how you're connected to your child and talking to your babies and how you look so happy and you look thriving and yeah, so I think there's something working there, something works really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was such a pleasure to have you. And if you have anything else you want to add on or just say something to the viewer, any kind of message, then
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me, for, wanting to share the story and to just give that inspiration and that hope to other people out there to know that, you know, life doesn't have to look the way it looks right now, and you can come back into that more happy space within your heart and within your life, especially with birth and with pregnancy and all the above. And yeah, I'm just happy, and yeah, I'm here for you guys. You know, if this is something that sparks a chord within your heart, we are here to support you and to help you. And yeah, yeah, just keep on going no matter what. Even if this doesn't feel right now, even if you can just take a moment every day to just put your hand on your heart and to just feel that again, to come back to that space within your heart and to feel your actual heartbeat, that alone is going to start changing everything within you. So I encourage people to do that, and to eat more fruits and vegetables, to feel the love, feel the love from nature. Yeah.
yeah, I totally recommend that too.
It's just like it's something like it's so interesting because like probably you get it too. They're like, but I feel so good on this carnivore diet and the meat diet. I'm like, but have you tried a fruit? Because like the level of like just happiness and joy that comes is just absolutely incredible. Like
And
I
people think you're on drugs, right? It's
yes,
like,
they think you're on drugs and you're like, no, I'm just happy. Like I'm literally like the vibration of fruit is so good. It's just like it just makes you feel good, and just to try it, just to try, you just implement more every day, and then, you know, it's I remember when I first heard about this when I was like, oh my God, maybe like 25. I think I saw Raw Christina or something like that, who lives actually where we live, the same island. And I saw a video of hers and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that, And it didn't happen until like, I don't know, maybe like 6 years later or something like that. But it was so inspiring. I'm like, we can do this. We can totally eat fruits and vegetables and not be protein deficient, not be deficient on anything. It's like, wow, it can happen. So, and especially like even even being able to have a child in this lifestyle, and even a vegan lifestyle. Yes, you can do it. You don't have to take life to bring life. And this has been a big thing because people have come to me and I simply say, you don't have to take life to bring life, and
yeah,
because they feel like that's what's bringing them life, and that's what's, bringing them their baby. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be, you know. So, yeah. Yeah, and you have a child?
oh, you got stuck again.
I got stuck.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. Okay. And you have a baby, you have a kid?
No, no, as you said, like the baby heard, and I was running away from the country. I was in South Africa and I had to go back home to take care of, do ultrasound and tests and everything, and also get away from this very toxic person.
Mm.
So, yeah, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
I think, um, the first month when I was pregnant, I was only on fruits and some like maybe carbs once every few days.
Yeah.
And I felt like really good. I was energetic and I could stay up for 24 hours because he literally didn't, never mind. But the situation was that some days I didn't sleep for 24 hours and like over 24 hours, didn't eat and drink and I felt fine. Like,
Right.
but as soon as I started running, like I went to a different place and I couldn't afford buying my fruits because I didn't have any money. So I was starting to eat, like falafels and just whatever they had, like, like
Right.
cooked food. And then I started, I was feeling so depressed and I was like smelling like, you start to smell yourself really, really. And I'm like, I don't want to live anymore. Like, I feel so depressed. How are people going through this? You know, it's like, it's such a different experience. But
Right.
then I had to go back here, and obviously the baby didn't want to live in,
Right.
circumstances where the mother is suffering and the father is, well, whatever he was. So he felt like maybe he shouldn't come here. And then when I did the ultrasound, apparently it didn't have any heartbeat. So for me, it was a relief because as much as I wanted to be a mother, I didn't want my baby to have to go through, all this whatever happened with his father. And like, I just want the baby to be loved and that I will be able to, be focusing on the baby and love him and not, think of the baby as, oh, now it needs to be connected to someone that I don't love. And it's just going to give him bad feelings as well. I think.
Right.
And
Wow.
I didn't want to do any abortion. Just, you know, uh, I didn't want to kill anything. I said, I'm already pregnant, it's like,
Right.
but I let God decide and decided.
Yeah. The baby knew and you knew and
Yeah.
they it's all divine, you know. It still doesn't change the fact that it happened and it hurts and it doesn't, you know, that process is never easy, but when you look at it the way you looked at it, it's so beautiful because it's like, you know, that child can absolutely come back through and in a different circumstance and when you feel ready and good and it's it's the perfection for both of you guys. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you for
I
sharing.
truly believe so.
Oh, it's
Thank you for asking.
yeah, yeah, of course, of course. Oh, thank you so much for bringing me on and I look forward to continue connecting with you.
Yeah, me too. Sure thing. I'll be following you in your third birth and your amazing journey.
Yeah. How did you see
Yeah.
how did you see, by the way? I was just curious, like how did you find my page? Because I just started like a new page from before. Was it like through like a shared reel?
Wow. You know what? Oh, I think I was just scrolling and there's another guy that was doing and talking to you and I think Professor Sierra.
Oh
So
yeah.
I've seen that and then I was like I heard your story. Actually, I heard it a few months back and then I heard it again and I'm like I have to, I just have to because this idea of like not struggling with birth and it scares I can tell you it scares the shit out of me too if I'm going to be honest like being pregnant it's you can do it but I see like everyone's getting injections and is suffering in hospitals and then I'm like there are people that I can actually connect to that have been through something different
Mhm.
and they it, it's supposed to be magical, I believe, and this is how you made it look. So
Yes,
yeah, I just
absolutely.
had to I just had to connect with you.
Amazing. Well, I'm so happy you did, and you're right. It can be magical. It can be painless. It can be a joyful and joyous experience, and you don't have to like be in bed suffering and be a patient, you know. You can have a
Yeah.
different experience. So, yeah. Amazing. Well, so good to meet you. I appreciate you and thank you again for having me on, and I will be looking forward to seeing what you share.
Thank you so much. Have
Yeah,
a good rest of your day.
thank you. You too.